JW's got a mic in hand. Stories of yore from a comic land. Tune in close, he's got a plan, bringing history through sound. His tales echo from the past. Heroes, villains, their spells cast. Laughter, drama, a podcast blast. Every episode, a lasting brand. JW's Old Comic Corner, oh, where the legends live and grow. Painted panels line the show. Every word a vibrant glow.
Hi, and welcome to Old Comics 101 from JW's Old Comics Corner. I'm JW, and I'm going to talk about a great series that came out from 1999 till about, I think it was 2006, and ran 27 issues and 3 one-shots. And the comic I'm going to talk about is called Planetary. This is a great series written by Warren Ellis with iconic artwork by the great John Cassidy. I love his work. He did a lot of great stuff, especially at Marvel. But it's really beautiful artwork. Across the 27 core issues and 3 one-shots, Planetary isn't just a superhero book. It's a kind of a journey through the lost genres of the 20th century. A lot of pulp adventure type things are in it. 1950 sci-fi stuff, which I like, monsters and creatures, that type of stuff. Some 1960s spy type stuff, kaiju films, even ghost stories. And it's all woven into a spawning narrative that reshapes how we think about the power and the history and pop cultures. I grew up in a lot of that time, and I love this series because of that. And I'm going to dive into selected issues on this series. I'm going to introduce the series, and then we're going to go through what I thought were the issues that made me want to keep going with this. I didn't have a difficulty going with it. It's really written well. And these issues will bring the story and art to life by, I'm going to spotlight the original covers, key interior pages, and some visual storytelling, like original art if I can find it, which is very difficult, but I'll do what I can. And we're going to look at how Planetary kind of explores, I guess you call it the reimagining of some characters from Marvel and DC, and from movies from the 50s and 60s, all sorts of stuff. And it's really, really fun. It's a really fun series. I always hoped that they would do some kind of a sequel to it. So if you're here looking for something that's alternative from Marvel and DC superhero, alternatives, and if you're looking for some multiverse madness, because this thing delves into their multiverse, or just some great artwork, I think you're in for something special. We're going to start by introducing the 4 major characters of Planetary and then go into issue number 1. The first character you'll see up is called Elijah Snow. His role is he's the field leader. He's a detective and what is called a century baby in this series. His powers is what's called thermokinesis, which means he can control temperatures, especially cold. And he is a genius level intellect. Personality, he's stoic, intense, analytical, a man with a mysterious past and a strong sense of justice. He was born January 1st, 1900, and Elijah is one of very few century babies. There are others, and you will meet some of them in this series. These were individuals born at the turn of the century with extraordinary powers and long lifespans. And his appearance, he's always dressed in white, always. White suit, white shoes, he has silver hair, and he has a very pale complexion. And he's often seen with, rather stern expression and piercing gaze. Yeah, he doesn't smile much in this thing. The next person you'll meet is called Jaquita Wagner. Her role is she's the muscle of the group, and she's one of the field agents of Planetary. Her powers are superhuman strength, speed, agility, and the durability with enhanced senses. Her personality is she's very charismatic, very energetic, she's very direct, but she's also easily bored and thrives upon action. Yeah, one of those kind. Her background, she was born in 1945. This series takes place in 1999, so I think she inherited some of that baby genome that allows you to live a long time. her heritage is mysterious with connections to the hidden powers of this world. She was raised and trained by the Planetary organization. Her appearance is she's athletic build, strikingly good looks, typically wears a black bodysuit or a tactical gear with the Planetary sigil on it, and often seen with short and or slicked back dark hair. Third person you're going to meet is called the Drummer, aka Drummer. We don't really know his real name. His role is he's a technopath and a data specialist. His powers is he can read and manipulate information flows. He can merge into computers and stuff, and all along that kind of tech type stuff. Electronic signals, data, even magical patterns. I mean, that's how far he can go. His personality is he's eccentric, sarcastic, slightly unstable, but very, very intelligent. His background is a mysterious hacker-type figure whose skills make him essential in uncovering hidden information. His appearance, often he wears casual clothes with headphones or a beanie, holding drumsticks and constantly twirling them compulsively. His look often contrasts the others, slouchy, modern, and unkempt. And there is a fourth member, but you'll see him introduced off and on throughout the entire series. He's not around for the major parts of this storyline as they fight. His name was Ambrose Chase. He dressed very much like Elijah Snow. He wore commonly a white suit. He's a former Planetary field agent. His powers is he has what's called reality distortion field. He can he can warp physics around himself or around others to affect like bullets, gravity, and your perceptions. And I think a little bit more than that, as you'll read when you finish up the series and stuff. His background, a relatively late addition to the team in the past, so he was around like I think in I would have to say maybe the 60s and 70s and stuff before he disappears. His appearance, he's a tall black man, often dressed in a trench coat or tactical gear, but tends to be white. His serious demeanor is quiet strength, is what they say. So in issue 1, we're going to introduce you to Elijah Snow, and you'll see him sitting in a cafe, and he gets approached by Chiquita, and she finds that Elijah has no memory of his past 99 years, but she knows him. That's why she came looking for him. They need him right now for something. And so she will recruit him from the cafe in the middle of what I think is the Arizona desert, and go to a helicopter, and they meet the third member, the Drummer. And his first mission in this first issue is they're going to a mountaintop. And once they get inside the mountaintop, they find someone unusual still living there. Pulls guns on him. And he's laying there among the ruin of his, looks like a laboratory headquarters type thing. And his name is Dr. Alex Brass. Now, unless I'm the only one that recognizes it, but if you look at him, gosh, he looks a lot like Doc Savage. And his legs are ruined, and he's been living there without food or water for 50 years. And he's been waiting. And what he explains to them is what happened in this thing. And you find out that they created him and his brethren, because they have a planetary super group, which I will show you in just a minute, created a preliminary computer that allowed them to access something called the snowflake. And I will explain that also. And what happened was, due to the fact that they experimented with it to try and prevent like World War III or I think it was World War III, they ended up breaching a multiverse, and a bunch of heroes from there came to our planet to take it, because once we breached it, I guess it creates another planet, and their planet was doomed. And so they came here to try and save their planet, and our group here in the 1940s fought him, and he was the only survivor. Now this group was formed by Alex Brass, and the members are, from left to right on the photo, is an Asian character called Hark. His role is he's a mastermind, tactician, and martial artist. His abilities, genius level intelligence, and master of hand-to-hand combat. He's based on Fu Manchu, except he was reimagined here as being basically a good guy. His personality, cold, strategic, focused on the greater good. And another key fact of his is he will be the father of someone they meet later on in the future of Anarch, who has taken over his organization and continues his work. And the next person next to him is called the Operator. His role is he's a secret operations person from the United States government. His abilities, as far as I could tell, is he has none. I mean, he has no powers. His abilities are what he was taught and he learned in the field, kind of like an FBI, CIA agent type thing. He's based upon, I assume, generic secret agents of the 1940s and stuff. His key fact that he provides to them, besides shooting up things and stuff, and is providing support and information from the government about previous hidden things like secret wars and conflicts that occurred that we didn't know about. And next to him is someone called the Aviator. His name is James Wilder. His role is pilot and spaceman. He is based on rocketmen of the 1950 serials like Commander Cody, that type of thing. And his appearance, he wears classic retro futuristic jetpack, the helmet or flight gear, from the early days. One of the key things happened. He ends up dying while helping the team close the breach that they opened. Dr. Alex Brass, as you can tell, inventor, writer, genius, strategist, and a stand-in for basically Doc Savage. Personality, visionary. He's an idealist, morally upright, wants to use science and knowledge to prevent catastrophes from wrecking their world. His powers and abilities are peak human intelligence and physical prowess. He has no superpowers to speak of, but has mastery over numerous sciences, especially biology, and the fact that he discovered a way to where he doesn't have to eat or sleep or drink. I don't know how you would survive that way, but he found a way to do it. His most notable achievements are he discovers and opens a portal to another Earth, possibly a better one, and assembles a team to prevent World War III on their Earth. Like I say, he's based on Doc Savage. The guy next to him on the picture, his name is Edison, I assume Thomas Edison. His role, he's an inventor and an adventurer. His abilities is he, uses electricity, created a light bulb, did all sorts of wondrous things with electricity, but here, his genius ability, I believe, gave him the power to wield electricity as a power, an artificial power. He will die also in protecting this planet. He's athletic, blonde hair, classic two-fisted bulb hero vibe type thing. Because we all know that our Thomas Edison in this time was kind of an old dude. So, still fun. Next to him is a character sitting there. His name is Lord Blackstock. He's a jungle adventurer. His abilities is peak human agility, strength, and a survivalist and a tracker. He's based on Tarzan. And he, you'll find out, is also the father of Chiquita Wagner in the Planetary continuity later on. He is a nobleman, he is primal, and he's a great protector of nature. He has ties to secret empires that exist in Africa. You'll see some of those later on in the series. The last one, which I thought was really cool, was they don't have a name for him. He's this shadow-style vigilante. His role is stealth operative and gunman of Alex Brass's team. His abilities, a master marksman, stealth expert, skilled in intimidation and psychological warfare. Appearance, he's always wearing a long trench coat, wide-brimmed fedora, red scarf, mask over his face. Kind of looks like the Shadow, or maybe even a off branch of the Spirit, but more based on the Shadow as far as I'm concerned. He's a taciturn, grim person who operates from the shadow, uses fear and firepower rather than idealism and stuff. His notable moment is seen in the flashbacks to Brass's team during the last mission, uses dual pistols, and keeps to the background mostly. You'll find a great origin of him later on in the series, and you'll see a lot of these origins of these guys have very important things in the future. So again, Brass's team was formed to intervene where governments failed, using science, strength, and strategy to stop global conflict. They succeeded in preventing World War III, but at the cost of losing most of their members. And the snowflake, here's a brief description of the snowflake. The snowflake is a massive multidimensional structure that symbolizes the totality of the multiverse in the planetary universe. It's described as 196,833 faceted crystalline structure, with each facet representing a separate universe, making it a literal map of the multiverse. So, and the number 196,833 is not arbitrary. It's a reference, I guess, in real life to what's called the monster group in mathematics, with ties to string theory. Beyond that, I just kind of glazed over like a deer in the headlights. But that's what it is. And the snowflake here is a metaphor for the beauty and fragility of the multiverse. It's also a visual way of portraying the interconnections and complexity of parallel realities. No, I didn't write that, I took that. It emphasizes Planetary's core theme, the idea that the 20th century created hidden histories and secret worlds, and reality itself is layered with unseen possibilities. Huh? Okay. So anyway, that's all in issue number 1. And believe it or not, it's only about 30 pages after all this. I'm going to go into issue 2 next. When I got it, I just loved it. All right, I loved it because it deals with Monster Island from those 1960 Japanese movies. You know, Mothra, Godzilla, King Ghidorah, all that kind of stuff, which I loved in the 60s. I could never get enough watching that stuff. But Planetary is enlisted by the Japanese government to come to their island because they have a problem. And so they show up and they explain to them, we have this island offshore that's fog enshrouded and that nobody can get to. And it's protected by the Japanese. And so they're worried because they have a base on there and it's detected intruders. And so they have a planetary office in Japan, and they said, can you help us? So they send them over there. And when you get over there, you get to see, I'm going to show you these images. It was really great. You're going to see like a dead Mothra. You'll see a dead Godzilla. And also a dead King Ghidorah with the guys that are trying to get in here and steal some equipment that's very important for them to, terrorize Japan, evidently. But all the animals seem to be dead. So anyway, Planetary has to stop them, which they do. They stop them. But I just thought it was so cool to see them bring in Warren Ellis to bring in, these great films from the 60s. And it was fun. It was just a fun story. And I highly recommend, if you wanted to get a hook to get in it, just get in it. I mean, it's just a one-shot on this. But that's what you'll see in this series. More things like this. Just one-shots that deal with the great storyline, overall storyline, but also because it just really touches into my youth. And, I'm an old fart. So, I just love this stuff. I'm going to next show you some stuff from issue number 5. This issue gives you more insight on the hero group that Alex Brass formed and enlightens us somewhat to their members. And what you'll see is John Cassidy did a great job making it look like it's like from old books from the 40s. As you see on my illustrations, or that not my illustration, but the illustrations I put in here, the artwork. And they show some of the hidden battles they fought, and they explain in depth, in print mostly, what they were doing and why they were doing it. It was really great. And they even show us a character that was part of them that we did not see from the issue number 1. And he looks very much like a Captain Marvel Shazam character who ends up saving everybody by closing what's called the bleed. And I'll explain that in the next issue. It was just fun to me because I love all the pulp hero stuff. I got some of it off and on, but I love the reimagining of them and their versions of this stuff. In issue number 6, you will find the true villains of Planetary, the series. Here you're going to see the Four. Now, we all know who the Four are in real life. In our world, it's called the Fantastic Four. Well, here the Four are the true villains of this series. And I'm going to show you the brief biographies, and then we'll go in more in text on what's going on. So, the Four are the central antagonists. They're dark reflections of the Fantastic Four from Marvel Comics. They are immensely powerful, they're very manipulative, and they are very, very, very morally corrupt, using the knowledge they gain and the abilities they gain to not only explore and enlighten, but also to hoard and suppress everything for their benefit. All right? They're here for a reason, and it ain't for good. So, the first character, Reed Richards, aka Randall Dowling, his role is the leader of the Four. He's a super intellect, has mental domination and memory manipulation. So where Reed stretches and stuff, he uses his intellect to stretch. He can get in your mind. He can do all sorts of stuff, kind of like what Reed Richards was, with his power of stretching. So again, these will be a little bit off powers compared to the original. But a description is Dowling is a cold, ruthless genius who wields his intellect as a weapon. Rather than using science to benefit humanity, he uses it to control and dominate others. His mental powers allow him to manipulate and even erase people's minds, making him especially dangerous. Dowling is a master manipulator and strategist, always working behind the scenes to suppress discoveries that could uplift this world. He believes knowledge is power, and that this power is only for him to wield. His, I assume, wife or girlfriend is called Kim Susskind, the analog of Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman. She's a field operator and enforcer. Her abilities is invisibility, force field projection, and she specializes in espionage. She is highly skilled in infiltration and assassination, making her one of the most feared members of the Four. Cold, calculating, and loyal to Dowling, she uses her powers with lethal precision, not for the protection or rescue, but for ambush and murder. Her character reflects a cynical inversion of feminine power, weaponized for control rather than for protection. The next one is William Leather, an analog of Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. He's one of the muscle of the Four, and his whole role is he's an agent of destruction. He has pyrokinetic powers, flight, and vulnerability to heat. Not very similar to Johnny Storm. Doesn't look like him that much, but just like him. You'll find his origin and his relations to previous 1940s heroes later on in the series. I thought that was really cool. Leather is a brash, cruel, and sadistic person. Unlike the fun-loving Johnny Storm, Leather is a sociopath who enjoys inflicting pain. His ability to generate and manipulate fire reflects his volatile personality. And believe me, it does. Despite his power, he's still a subordinate to Dowling, because they're all afraid of Dowling. This guy has power. Often acting as a brutal enforcer or intimidator, his motivations are mostly personal gratification and loyalty to the Four's oppressive mission. Finally, you have Jacob Green. He's the analog of Ben Grimm. His role is brute force. He's basically the tank, just like Ben Grimm. You put him in there, his powers is immense strength and his near invulnerability to everything. Green was transformed into a hulky stone-like monster during the same space mission that gave the team their powers. While his transformation echoes the tragedy of Ben Grimm, Green embraces his monstrous form and uses it as a tool of fear and violence. He is a very silent, terrifying, and very obedient, acting as the team's ultimate weapon of physical destruction. His presence is a constant reminder of the Four's unchecked power. So anyway, the Four are the perfect foil to the Planetary team. The Planetary team seek to uncover and preserve the world's hidden wonders to help uplift society and humanity, whereas the Four, in contrast, want to bury these wonders, hoard them, and ensure that no one else rises to challenge their supremacy. We're going to be in charge, is what they say, and that's it, period. They represent the darkest possibilities of power, exploration, and science used on a very selfish level. The Four uses, like what I mentioned briefly before, something called the bleed. Now the bleed, remember the snowflake, has all those different Earths out there. Well, you have to go through what's called the bleed. The bleed is the space between all these universes. It's a dimension that flows between the facets of the snowflake. It's a kind of a cosmic fluid, a reddish shifting void that allows for movement and communications across the multiverse. Its properties, it acts like a meta-dimensional bloodstream, like your blood flowing through veins, connecting parallel Earths or realities. It's navigable by certain high-level technologies or beings with advanced perceptions who can perceive it and understand it. Dangerous and unstable, only powerful beings or specifically designed ships can pass through it safely. And you will see this happen in a lot of the issues, how some other beings will gain powers through that are not necessarily evil. Elijah will later use the bleed, just as a side note, as a concept in other Wildstorm titles, including the Authority and Stormwatch, where it serves a similar function. It will become a major tool for multiversal travel in the Wildstorm universe, which I didn't know that. So anyway, that's how, that's pretty much why Planetary exists now, is to beat the 4. So in issue number 8, which is the next one we're going to cover, I just love this cover. I love it because I'm a fan of the 1960s and 50s and 60s science fiction stuff. And this cover deals with some stuff that isn't even in the issue, but they did it just to have a great looking 1950s cover. And this issue is going to deal with mainly about 3 things. Planetary gets summoned by a woman to a hidden place, a hidden city in the middle of the desert. And they meet her, and you find out that she is a dead prostitute. And she is there to show them what Dowling has been doing. And so Dowling creates a city called City Zero. He sends his boys out, I assume the 4 and other people, because he's got ties to all sorts of organizations, to kidnap alcoholics, drug users, prostitutes, and generally poor people that nobody cares about in the 1960s. And he populates the city with these people. And in this city, you will see in this comic that he will begin performing horrendous experimental procedures on the citizens, practicing changing them, trying to generate superpowers, see what things can do when you apply certain chemicals or abilities to people. It's a horror story basically overall. But it's also cool is it leaks. This stuff ends up leaking because they get attacked by giant ants. And if you remember from the early 1960s or late 50s, there was a movie called Them. And that was where giant ants from the desert, from a radioactive bomb experiment, show up and start going after people. So I just loved that whole thing. That was fun. That was just funner than heck to do. And that's what this story's about. You see more about what Dowling has done. The next one up is going to be issue 10. This issue is why no other heroes probably do not populate this planet. It opens with the Planetary finding one of Dowling's abandoned headquarters or bunkers. And on the floor you will see a red cape, a lantern, and golden wrist bracers. Who has a red cape? Superman. Who has the lantern? Green Lantern. And golden wrist bracers? Gosh, sounds an awful lot like Wonder Woman. And then you cut to and you see how this alien race from a different dimension sends its only child through the bleed to this world. And he happens to be wrapped in a red blanket. Unfortunately, Dowling knows that the rocket existed, came to Earth, and he sends Johnny Storm, his version of Johnny Storm, out to see what it was. And he gets there first before anybody else does. And you can see what happens, what he does to the child. Next, you then cut to this scene. You're going to see a lantern. This alien race gives a lantern to this guy. Their job is to protect certain areas of space. And this guy is sent to Earth. And he gets captured by Dowling and killed. And they dissect him. We don't know exactly what happens to Wonder Woman. We just know that she is sent. They show her being sent to our world, man's world, I guess, if you want to call her the human race, to share their technology with us and help us uplift our world. Didn't quite work out that well. And like I say, the story ends with them just looking at these items on the floor, not sure what they are and what they represent. I thought that was really a cool thing. If you want to see more of this stuff about them, I recommend looking at the one-shots, because one-shot is Planetary JLA, where you find out, you know, their version of like Batman and their version of Wonder Woman and Superman. There is a Superman beyond this alien. So I do recommend those. In issue 11, I love this because I'm a big Jim Steranko fan and was a big Nick Fury fan until they changed him. So anyway, but they introduce a Nick Fury James Bond type person. And his name is Mark Stone, Agent of Storm, S.T.O.R.M. Gotta love those old things. And this whole book is where he knows Elijah and makes sure that he is starting to help Elijah start to regain his memory. All right? And you'll find that's critically important to everything going on, is the fact that we need to get his memory back for them to finish this fight. But it's a great issue. Great salute to the Steranko type stuff from the late 60s and stuff. I really enjoyed it. And this character, Mark Stone, shows up off and on again to help them out. Issue 13, this Elijah Snow, you see Elijah Snow back in the year 1919, where he's probably in his youthful 19-year-old self, finds Frankenstein's castle. Pardon my lisp, man. I have new teeth and stuff, so I apologize for that. But anyway, he goes to the castle, ends up fighting a bunch of Frankenstein-type monsters that were left behind because it's deserted, and goes there. Only he did all this just to go to this library where he finds an electric-type hologram of the world, their world, and it points to London. And so he next, in 1920, goes to London. And once he gets there, he goes and confronts Sherlock Holmes and finds that Sherlock Holmes has been aiding and abetting a conspiracy to take over the world. And walking up from behind is Count Dracula. And he is one of the lead conspirators of this. And Sherlock Holmes has no choice but to work with him. He's old, he's in a wheelchair. And so Dracula and Elijah get a little bit of a conundrum there, and Elijah kind of kills him and breaks the conspiracy, I believe. And he will then stay with Sherlock Holmes, and he will learn his ways of detecting, how to be a great detective and understand things. And how long he stays there, I don't know, probably till Sherlock's death, but that's how Elijah becomes one of the great detectives. In issue 14, here you will find Planetary talking to a bald-headed scientist in a wheelchair. Gosh, I wonder who that sounds like. His name, they didn't say his name, so I can't say Xavier, but yeah, who knows. But what he does is he shows him a simple wooden walking stick. And he finds out that when you tap that stick, it turns into this big hammer, metallic hammer, really ornate looking. And that hammer wields power of certain types. And they thought like, whoa, what's this? And so Elijah and Planetary analyze it with the help of this guy in the wheelchair. And Elijah decides, hey, when you tap that hammer, it opens the bleed and it changes places someplace. I want to go there. And this issue explores what happens when Elijah puts on a spacesuit, right? Who knows what's in the planet. And they tap the metallic hammer and he joins it through the bleed. And you find out what happens in this planet, which is this planet was visited by the Four in the past. And during all their times going through these alternate dimensions, they steal weaponry and knowledge and stuff. But unfortunately, this planet has a civilization. Oh, wait, they had a civilization, because now it's just a holding place for all their technologies, which I thought was pretty interesting. And you can just see a line of all sorts of different types of weaponry. And I thought that was pretty cool. It shows you the veracity of these people, how they're so determined to do what they want. Issue number 18 is another movie-related issue, which I loved. I grew up on this in the early 60s. Here, Mark Stone meets with Elijah and tells him that he came across information that a spaceship that was launched in the 1850s is coming back to Earth. It was orbiting the moon for the last, 1999, about 149 years, somewhere in that neighborhood. and that Dowling and his gang have great interest in getting this ship. And so he's telling Elijah so that he can get there and get to it before they do. So he goes. And here they will meet up with William Leather, Johnny Storm, the Johnny Storm of the group. And they kind of have a little show up. And I'll leave it at that. My final issue I'm going to talk about is issue 19. Planetary finds an alien spacecraft floating, I believe, among the asteroid field. That's between us, I think, and Mars. And we find that, again, I don't know if it's from Roswell, but we have a group of aliens that we have, and they live in Planetary. And we didn't capture them. They agreed to stay because they were sent from somewhere. And their whole goal is to, kind of like V'ger, if you ever remember him from Star Trek, to gather knowledge. That's all they do. They don't care. They don't no politics, nothing. They just want knowledge. For what reason? Who knows? Maybe to bring back home? Who knows? But they exist now with Planetary because they feed them knowledge. And so they end up sending this group of aliens, 3 aliens, to this alien spaceship because they find out that the 4 want to access this ship. And they believe that the only one that will probably go there will be their version of the thing, Jacob Green. And so they send the aliens there and to explore the ship, which I thought was really cool because you have like this alien type chair like from Aliens and or Alien, and it's big, it's gigantic. I mean, it's huge, and it's covered like in fungus and moss and stuff. And then later on, you notice that there's this big giant Galactus-looking guy laying there dead, just laying there. And on here, it's been here for centuries. Civilization has grown. Man-like creatures are here. And Jacob Green shows up, which I'll show you a picture of him, what he looks like. And the whole point of it was they end up having, the ship ends up reigniting, and they end up sending it outside of our solar system with Jacob Green trapped in it to eliminate a member of the 4 to help make it easier for them to capture. And again, these are just some of the issues that I thought were really cool. And my hope was to intrigue you enough to maybe look at it, because hopefully you've looked at the artwork, because the artwork by Cassidy is just beautiful. This guy is such a wonderful artist. If you ever want to see, the other thing that was really done good by him was called The Astonishing X-Men Volume 1, because I know there's multiple volumes by now, I'm sure. But the first volume, he did like the first, 12 to 18 issues of them. Just beautiful artwork. That made me collect it just for his artwork. It's so nice to look at. So easy on the eyes. It's wonderful to look at. Definitely one of the great artists out there. And the writing in this, I thought Warren Ellis just did a fantastic job writing this series. And DC did a good job because they own the Wildstorm universe in keeping this in print. There are various ways that they've reprinted this. Originally, they reprinted the 27 issues in 4 trade paperbacks. And I believe they did a trade paperback. I couldn't find a cover that definitively told me it was a trade paperback of the 3 one-shots too. And I'm showing pictures of all this stuff. Planetary also was done then in an omnibus, and it appeared, and it's like a hardcover type thing, more expensive. And I believe from when I read, it reprinted only the 27 issues. I would hope they would have put in the 3 one-shots. And then, of course, they did a Planetary Absolute Edition hardcover. I've seen this on Amazon at around $200, and it includes all the Planetary stuff. I don't know if it includes the Jenny Spark stuff. It didn't give a great description. But either way, there are ways you can get this book. And you can usually find used editions of all these trades and hardcovers and stuff on eBay, Amazon, McCurry, you just name the place. There's tons and tons of sites out there. And I do very much recommend this series. It's really very good. And if you do get it, read it. Let me know if you read it. Comment. Come back and comment. Let me know you read it and if you liked it, or if I'm just full of hot air, which I usually am, I hear. But let me know. I'd like to know if you really enjoyed these series, because I recommend these because these are things I like, because I like to read. And I love great artwork with my reading. And I love artwork, period, with my reading. So anyway, I hope you'll enjoy. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope if you buy this, you enjoyed the book. And again, I thank you for watching this.